But staying on the service path, what has been my real uh, balm, my wake up to reality, is the more that I get the focus off of me, the better life is. And so when the insecurity pops up, it's simply because the focus is shifted back over here.
Hello, coaches. Whether you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or Mighty Networks, I'm here with Melissa Ford, who is one of the very few people who has stayed on the faculty year after year. And after watching this short clip, I believe you'll understand why I had to have her back again. She's brilliant and really not only gives great advice and coaching and guidance in her masterclasses, she follows up with that outside of it, and she really walks her talk. And she models for me everything that the AJC is all about, which is yes, about growing your business. Yes, it's about thriving and being prosperous as a coach, but doing so which is in a way which is ethical, which is in alignment with my highest values around integrity and honesty and being real. And Melissa, you have that in spades. So I'm so glad to have you back.
Oh, Ankush, thank you so much. You give the best introductions, and I receive it. Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you. And I'm really looking forward to where you want to take this conversation. I think it's super exciting.
yeah, it's so easy to acknowledge you. It's hard. The hard thing is to keep it in a shorter paragraph or so. But I was thinking we had a little chat before we started recording, and I was thinking, what do we talk about? Because we've got some amazing clips from you. We've got some amazing videos that you and I have done in the previous years. And for me, I always like keeping things fresh, as do you. We spoke about that too, keeping things fresh and interesting. And for me, I'm like, hey, if I had been to every single school, why would I be excited to come back and talk to or hear from Melissa's masterclass again? And I know in the last 3 years, every year it's been different. And so today we want to cover something, or I'd like us to talk about something which I don't think we've ever spoken about before, but really I think is important both for coaches globally. I think this is going to be something that raises the profession, but it's also important for you, the individual watching this right now, because it's a place that can be really sticky for a lot of coaches and can inadvertently get in the way of making money, of being prosperous, and really being of service.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right in, Melissa. And can you talk about what you said just before we started recording? I'd love to jump back in there where you spoke about how you grew as a coach and give us a little bit of a background and you got to a place where you thought you made it and then the insights you had and where you were really exploring where am I sticky?
Yeah. Okay, so a little background about me. I've been professionally coaching for 15 years. And when I got on the path to learn how to serve to create clients, I had hired Steve Chandler. And my whole intention was to prove to myself that I could make money. That was it. And if this service thing was something I'd have to learn to do, I would learn to do it and let's get on with it. And I really wanted to prove it. And I had lots of reasons why. So that was who I was back in the beginning. And then as we continued on this path, I kept waking up and growing up. As Steve would say, I turned from a tadpole into a frog. Like there was that level of metamorphosis. So I'm going along and I hit one financial goal that I couldn't believe. Then I hit the next financial goal. And then I hit this one financial goal that was like, oh my gosh, I could never imagine hitting this financial goal. And I realized I finally got it, Kush, that it wasn't about the financial goal. And when I say it, I'm talking about who I'm being, the level of fun I'm having, um, what my personal life looks like, what my professional life looks like. I realize it's greater than that. And then that led me to starting to look for where on this service path was it still sticky? Where did I still feel insecure? Where was something confronting? Where was I still in survival mode in a way? And that became my inquiry. And I'm still on that. And what I discovered was it wasn't any amount of money that was going to make me feel whole and complete or make me feel secure. So take it away from here because I can't quite remember what I said. That was kind of like newsflash, but that's really where I'm at today. That's what my service path looks like. And there's endless opportunity for growth.
Yeah, I mean, this is real gold because I think that's the thing that we want to draw on is like, where am I sticky? Where am I not seeing things? Where am I not secure? And one of the central values of the AJC, one of the core things that I think has the AJC school stand out from any other school that I know of, and there might be others, but I'm not aware of them, is really this core value of compersion. And compersion is something that I've co-opted from the polyamory community, but I've created a new definition for this. Hopefully one day it will go into, the Oxford Dictionary or something. That in the coaching world, for me, compersion, not compassion, compersion is the wholehearted joy and happiness for the success of other coaches, right? Because what I find when we talk about the security, what I noticed is coaches are a wonderful group. They often come into this for a profession because they care about other people. They want other people to do well. They feel it's a very rewarding profession. So I generally see coaches as wonderful people. And I see sometimes there's this stickiness where people can start personalizing things and get into this hierarchy and competitiveness. And you and I, this stemmed out of a conversation you and I had a little while ago, where, and we've had many of these conversations. Someone who's working with me is thinking about working with you, and could be vice versa. And we just have a conversation, and it's never a problem. I think almost every time it's the same conversation. Hey, we're just happy with whatever the client wants. If the client is more aligned with working with you, Melissa, you're a fantastic coach. It's great. What a wonderful thing for the client. Vice versa, if someone is with you and they want to come and work with me, it's like wonderful. We both know that each other is going to do a good job and serve the other person. And that doesn't seem to be the case. And I find that coaches can sometimes get into this competitiveness or like, hey, no, this is my client. This is my thing. Don't come over here. And what I notice is you don't have any of that. And it's not about, to me, like when we talk about the money becomes less important, it's not that you have to choose.
Mhm.
For both of us, as we've been on our journeys with that, it's not like, oh, well, you clients can go anywhere, so we're happy to like take a pay cut. No, we just don't think about it. And what happens is, I find that the income doesn't drop. If anything, it becomes actually easier to create because it's given less important. And the less needy I am with this sort of stuff, the more people want to work with me. And I'd love to have you draw out because I think you model this so well.
Okay. So I want to say that I can still get needy, but when it happens, I'll slow down and I'll look at what is actually going on. Like, what am I thinking? What am I believing? Uh, what do I think I need to be okay? And I start to really look closer. And I realize that when I'm in that place, I'm really not in truth or reality. I'm stuck in an idea about myself that needs something externally to be all right. And I'm going to take some time with it. So I think this idea of compersion is beautiful. And I also think for many of us, it's a journey. It really is like a journey to get there. I remember, Kush, one time I had a coaching client and she came through Steve's ACS and we worked together and it was really fun. And then she came back to me and she said, I want to hire Steve Chandler. And I remember thinking, what? And I was just, I was early in my tadpole days and I was just like, well, what is this? And I remember saying to Steve, she's worked with me and she wants to work with you. And Steve looks at me and he says, when I'm done with her, I'll give her back to you, Melissa. And honestly, it was one of those moments where I went, oh, what I'm claiming, this is mine. So I have definitely been there for sure. But staying on the service path, what has been my real uh, balm, my wake up to reality is the more that I get the focus off of me, the better life is. And so when the insecurity pops up, it's simply because the focus is shifted back over here. And I, at this point in my, coaching career, I don't really want to have a lot of time thinking about I need something in order to have a great business or enjoy my life or have a fun career. So I think it's just been over and over coming up to that and looking at it, getting clear on it, and then moving on. And then that place of neediness, it's just doesn't have the strength that it used to. So that's it for me over here, really.
It sounds like you've just been doing a lot of the reps that you've
Yes.
used over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and yeah, getting real with myself, doing those reps because clients aren't mine. And me withholding happiness for somebody's success, I'm the only one that suffers from it. One of the cool things that I learned early on in the service game with Dave and Gary was that I naturally, by serving them, I started to get excited about their wins.
You say a little bit of that because people might not know who Dave and Gary are.
Sure. Yeah, so I played a game, a 90-day game, where the whole focus was to serve prospective clients and clients from a place of doing it without the fear that tended to keep us all kind of contracted and withholding at some level. And so we would identify those games. Each of us had different games, and we played it for 90 days, where we would offer conversations, we would coach people, we would provide proposals, and at the end, we may or may not have a client. And so we did this together, and during that time, Gary might create a client when I didn't, or Dave might do the same, get a new client or raise his fee and I wouldn't. But there was this sense of community, this sense of we're in this together, the sense of I care so much about their um, growth and impact and having fun with them that I realized that in loving them, whatever they were doing and whatever they were creating, I was totally excited and joyful for them. So that taught me a lot about myself and who did I want to be.
So someone's listening to this and they go, "This is great. I hear you guys. I can recognize that I still have a little bit of that kind of clinging and
Sure.
neediness. What are some things they can learn from you, Melissa, and how you got from there, and what you do in a practical way to try and shift some of that?"
Mm. Well, the first thing I would say is they can sit all day long and conceptualize about this, or they can get into action. And when there's a neediness that might show up, say they were serving a particular prospect and the prospect went someplace else, they hired another coach. My recommendation is to get in there and act. So I might send an email to the prospective client and say, I'm really excited for you. I think you've made a really good move hiring this person. Here's what I know about this individual. Best wishes to you. And if there's any way I can serve you in the future, I'm here. I can do that. And then what that does for me from a very real, genuine place is I mean everything I say. I had a past client get hired by another client of mine, a past client. And it made total sense that he hired her. They were very aligned. She's very service based. She's a fantastic coach. And so I want to take the time to celebrate that and recognize it. I don't lack for somebody else having success. I played that game for a very long time, and it's like the total zero sum game, and it's not true. So to keep looking for what actually is true and seeing how you feel when you hit on the truth of something. So that's a suggestion.
Yeah, it's such gold, Melissa. I'm so excited because we've never really covered this before. And this is so relevant and so important. And you really, I think for me, seeing your journey, you went there first. And I've watched the evolution of you as you started that service game with Dave and Gary. And my experience of you has really been this. You just give freely without attachment. And that's what makes it so enticing for people to want to work with you.
Yeah, yeah. And it feels totally selfish. It feels great. Feels great to do that. I mean, I know what it was like at certain stages on my path. Um, and to have somebody give and recognize and acknowledge something in me, if I'm new on my path, it makes all the difference in the world because I realize they're not just blowing smoke, they're actually highlighting what it is about me that is going to have me have success in this business.
Yeah.
So why not? Why not? And you and I are very similar, Kush, in the sense that we want this profession to be outstanding. And I'm not, I'm in this game for as long as I choose to be in this game, but there's people who are younger, newer, fresher, and the ones that really want to show up and deliver. I want to support those people. I really do, because when I'm done with this profession, who's going to be there really holding this service torch and being professional and committed to their own growth and success, not just to make money, but way past that, because it's it's so enlivening to keep learning and growing regardless of where you're at.
No, it's so true. I love it. I use a term sometimes in my men's immersions called enlightened selfishness.
You're
Selfish,
beautiful.
right? Like be selfish, but it like in a way that it ends up giving a lot to other people. People benefit from us being selfish. So yeah, be totally selfish in terms of being not needy and
Yeah,
holding back and whatever. You'll feel better, and it makes the world better.
yeah,
And one of the things that we encourage in the AJC is to give referrals, give clients. If you speak to someone and they're not a good fit, there'll be someone else in the school that will be. And I've seen that over the years, and I think you've seen that too. And again, it's
yeah,
a model as well.
yeah, totally, totally. Well, I want to say that I had a conversation with one of your coaches recently, and they wanted me to speak on this topic for a group that they were forming. And Kush, I said to them, okay, but I would really want to send you to the guy who lives and breathes this, and it's his passion. I said, you need to talk to Ankush, truly, because this is what you're about. And it's I love seeing it. I love witnessing it. Anytime I hear from someone about what they've gotten from your school, they always talk about how every person that you talk to, they can see that person is it. It's like they're number one. This is the person that you're really engaged with. And you being that is what more and more people want because they see the love in it, the power in it, and the truth in it.
Thank you so much for saying that. It's like I said, we're both very aligned. We both want the profession to succeed, and I
Yeah.
feel really grateful. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel really grateful for that we're standing on the shoulders of giants. And I'd love for you to speak a little bit about that just in the last few minutes. That your journey, and one of the reasons I've always asked you to be faculty is this didn't come easily for you. You know, you've been on this path for a long time, and like Steve Chandler said, the thing that's the hardest for you to learn is the thing that you're best at teaching.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way. I know when we were both working with Steve, I said earlier, I was like, I felt like a second tier client. I was like, they're the ones that really succeed, and I'm just trying to like catch up behind them. So I'd love for you to say a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I always felt like a second tier client. Isn't that interesting? It's like, I think a lot of people might feel like that because, again, what is that? It's insecurity knocking at the door, right? I'm less than, I'm not good enough. How do I overcome that? Um, that's impossible to overcome from that same space. You've got to really see what you are and what's real and true. So I want to go back to standing on the shoulders of giants. I'm incredibly grateful to all the people who've coached me, especially Steve Chandler. Like I look at, and I could start crying here. I look at the impact that he made on my life, and it wasn't just professionally. I mean, that guy hung in there and kept like trying to open up the door, find the crack in Melissa's personal life. And he finally did. So I'm grateful to him. I'm grateful to the coaches who currently coach me. I am incredibly grateful to my clients. I know you know this. Don't you feel like you should pay them the things that you learn from them? Um, so I stand on the shoulders of my clients as well because they introduce to me ideas that I see serve them. And then I'm like, oh, I need to do that too. Like all of my clients. So that's where I'll end.
I can't believe we're at time that I could talk to you for hours. There's so many things that we haven't yet touched on. Even though this is the fourth time you're doing a masterclass, we haven't touch on everything that even just I've learned from you. I remember when I asked you a question about how to get the most out of my coaching with Steve, and it was gold. I remember asking you a question about here's what I'm not bringing to my coach, and what you said about that was gold. I've seen the way you show up in service, and I've got so much out of that. I've seen how you showed up when we've had maybe a misalignment or a miscommunication. I mean, every single one of those things could be a 2 hour masterclass, and I'm so excited for you to come back and share again. And I'm glad I held it together because when you start talking about you and me both, when we start talking about Steve and the impact that man's had on our lives, I'm
Yeah.
grateful doesn't do it justice. And for me, I'd like to think that both of us are part of his legacy in really helping so many other people in a real genuine, in a real heartfelt, in a real loving way, just as he did for us.
Yeah. Same. I'm with you. And I love you, Kush.
I love you too, Melissa. Thank you so much for recording this. I'm so glad to have you back in the school. And I know all the coaches who have already signed up and the ones who are going to be signing up are in for a real treat.
Thanks, Kush.